I recall being 10 when my mum first left. She actually just wrote a note. I just recall the note being like, "I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. I'm gone." So, yeah. I can see that, like, it really wrestled with my identity. Like, I was probably too much or not enough. I obviously got into drinking and partying as a form to medicate that pain of rejection that I'd always felt. So I would go looking for acceptance in all the wrong places from all the wrong men. I just decided one day I wanted to have a change, so I packed my car, drove myself to Sydney. I'd actually found myself in a drug dealer's home. There was some girls there who were working in the sex industry at the time, and I actually then went to a party with them, and I ended up in hospital that night, being beaten because I did refuse sex with a guy. And fortunately enough, I was brave enough to tell my dad. He drove down in his car the next day, and he picked me up to drive me home. It's really special because by this point I was a grown adult, but to know that someone loves you enough to pull you out of the trenches is very powerful. Living weekend to weekend was my life. So there was a really attractive guy in the gym, and so I went hard to pursue this man. I did also find out that he worked at one of the other nightclubs. Our life was definitely built on partying. We were both working in the nightclub scene. So the moment that I knew I was pregnant with my first daughter was the moment where I actually knew that life had to change. Mills obviously knew that he had to get out of the nightclub scene as well. He took a job where he would work away, and that led down a very dark path. He had grown up in church, and so I thought it would be a good idea for him to go to church. He was very excited that I would come and support him. So I got invited to Alpha from Pastor Dan, actually. He called and he said, "I'd love to invite you to Alpha." I had no idea what Alpha, I'd never heard of it before. But I remember just saying, thanks so much for your invite, but I don't think that I'm Christian enough to be a part of a Christian cause. His response was, no, this isn't what you think. It's actually a really great course for people who have no idea about God or about faith. Just seeing, like, these are questions I'd probably never considered before. And then what really surprised me was that there was actual proof that Jesus was real. So I had started Alpha, but my relationship with Mills was falling apart. I just asked for prayer, but I remember going home that night, just crying out to God, "God, if you're real, I need you to show up." Within a couple of days, I had a call from Mills, and he'd had a powerful encounter with God. And he had Gideon's Bibles in the drawer, next to his bed, and in the Bible just had the word repentance highlighted. And so he called me up to say that, "Hey, I just pulled out this Bible and I feel like I should tell you the truth." It was probably the lowest, darkest point of my life. He'd told me that he'd been having multiple affairs. He was really struggling with his alcohol addiction, his drug addiction, and it become way worse. He said, "You either come back on the next flight home, or you would just stay there and we could just continue on with our life. But I do know that if you come back, then I would just give you an opportunity." And I knew how much I needed God's forgiveness. I knew that he deserved that forgiveness as well. He came back on the next flight. Soon after was the Alpha weekend away. So I remember just sitting there with my legs crossed and listening to the worship music and the tears just flowing, the healing just coming. It was just this overwhelming love and healing
that was taking place. And I remember like after that night, him just holding me so tightly. He would say like, you were the closest experience to forgiveness that I had ever had, and now I'm experiencing God's forgiveness, and it was so much more. Every day I just had to really trust and believe that God had a plan for us forward. And so through Alpha, I felt like I had these spiritual mums, or these people around me who actually nurtured me and mothered me that I'd never experienced before. Our marriage is better than it's ever been. We've got 3 children. 10 years on, I now get to pastor a local church. I got a real heart for Alpha, and I absolutely love that it's a place and a space for me to still invite friends and people from the gym that I connect with. We aim to do 1 to 2 Alphas every year. Since my first Alpha and that experience, I've been able to be a part of many more over the 10 years. I'd say up to about 20 Alphas altogether, and continue to have a heart for that. Now being on this side, I'm so grateful for what I've been through, the story, because I get to see the other side, right? And I get to see the impact of what it's had on others.